This is a Let's Talk Church Safety and Security microsode with your host, Paul Buckner. Hey, sheepdogs. I wanted to just take a moment and talk about something that has really been coming up a lot lately, and I've had some amazing conversations with some of the officers that I chaplain. And so this is going to be a rare video that I'm actually going to do for my chaplain's podcast as kind of a supplemental, but also on the church safety side. And this is something that's right up John Riley's alley with general response. But there's a powerful phrase that I've learned to use, which is help me understand this. And I don't remember where I picked it up. I've heard it several places over the years, and I'd love to give credit where credit is due, but it's something that several people that I deeply respect say. Help me understand this, because it leaves room for humility. It leaves room for the fact that we may not know everything, which I know as guys sometimes is hard for us to admit. It leaves room for us to be right, but be right graciously, which is something sometimes we also suffer from as guys. I think that's a unisex thing, but we can get into a bad ego battle real quick over things. Well, I've been doing this for 30 years. Well, but you still don't know everything. And it happens all the time where guys will leave the police academy, or they'll go to a special training or something, and they come back, and somebody who's been doing it longer than they have, a shorter time than they have, rather, actually knows more than the person who's been doing it longer, because they've had a more recent training, or maybe they've read a book, or they've whatever, right? So take a couple of quick stories. One of them I'm going to tell on me. So young officer that I chaplain, I love this guy to death, great guy, ended up in a situation where he had a question that he had to ask of somebody with another entity. So he contacted them, and I'm in no way am I harping on him, but we run out of tools, and we can end up in a bad situation because we run out of tools, we run out of words. And if we run out of tools, we find ourselves underarmed. If we don't have enough arrows in the verbal quiver, we can be in a real bad situation real quick, and we can go to blows. It goes from verbal judo to verbal karate in a hurry. And so what ends up happening is he talks to somebody and he says, hey, I've got two things in front of me. Both of them are conflicting. Both of them have an authority figure signature on them. I need some help. And it didn't get through somehow to the person he was talking to. I happened to be listening to it, and I was there for it. And the person got very rude and very offensive very quickly, and they were very firmly out of line. Tempers flared, and resources weren't available. You know, if you're not equipped with those verbal resources, it can get out of hand in a hurry. And I love this guy. He's a phenomenal police officer. I learned from him, and he's half my age. We have some phenomenal theological discussions too. You know, some very, very deep God talks. And so, but he ran out of resources, got angry, said a couple of things, and hung up. And I looked at him and I was like, bold move. Because you have interagency, interdepartmental, inter-entity things that happen. You may be communicating with lawyers. You may be communicating with other state agencies or federal agencies, or just other police departments. And we can burn bridges in a hurry because we run out of verbal resources and we become angry. And I'm as human as the next guy. So we can end up eating crow later, or just accidentally stepping on a landmine and blowing up a relationship that we will need down the road. These things don't happen in a vacuum. And as a businessman, I've had people do me wrong, and I've forgiven and moved on. And years later, they don't remember it. And years later, they call me and they're like, hey, my brother-in-law's got a business and he needs like this entire computer network set up. He's opening a new location. And all of a sudden, I've got a big project that helps me go out. You know, I can pay my bills to take care of my family, so I can go out and be a chaplain and now a police officer. So I'm gonna tell one on myself. So I got my car serviced, and it needed some stuff done, and I took it to a dealership. And when I took it there, they ran up a whole list of things that were wrong with the car, which is what dealerships do. And said, you know, this is okay, but you could probably replace it, you know, even on some parts that were basically brand new. That's what dealerships do. I'm ready for that. Well, I go to change my oil, and I'm missing this dust cover off the top of the engine. That's what I would call it, as a dust cover. I can see the mounting brackets for it, and there's a place at the back where you can tell that there was like a bolt through it or a clip, and it's gone. And so I call and leave a message, no response. I call and leave a message, no response. Should they have responded to me? Yes. Now my dander's getting up, I'm getting frustrated, my humanity is showing, and I'm not mad, but I'm like, look, I'm gonna have to drive 45 minutes out of my way to go down there. I'm just gonna have to plan it on a day that I'm gonna be close to this dealership. They're not super close to me. And so I go down there and I'm like, I need to talk to your service manager. I'm happy with the service. I need these questions answered. So I'm like, this is missing. I remember specifically looking at where it said this many liters on the cover, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, unfortunately, that model does not have a dust cover. And I'm like, so I could be on crack. And he kind of laughed. I'm using a gentle answer to turn away wrath. I'm using that verbal judo, that John Riley de-escalation, and because I'm frustrated, and I sincerely believe there's a missing dust cover here. And I said, well, help me out here. There's 2 brackets at the front of the engine, and there's 1 at the back, and it's missing. I mean, I can tell where it mounts. And he goes, you have this many liters of an engine. The one that has that, it's the same mounting everything on top of it, but the higher number of liters, that's the one that actually has that. And I'm like, I can show you on the car. And he's like, yeah, let's go out there. And I'm standing there and I'm scratching my head. And I said, man, I want to believe you, and forgive me. I'm not trying to say you don't know what you're talking about, but I guess I need the peace of mind that would come from looking at one. Do you happen to have another car that's the same year model? And he goes, yeah, let's go down to our used lot. I guarantee you I have several. I said, okay. He goes, can I hop in with you? So we're talking about God and life. We drive around to it's a big campus. We drive around and back into the complex down to their used lot. He goes and gets the keys, pops the hood, and sure enough, sure as shooting, under their beautifully cleaned engine that's way cleaner than mine, on the exact same model of the exact same year model, it's not there. I must have been, first off, brain fart. I don't know how I thought that was there, but on the higher liter engines, that is there, and the mounting brackets are still there, which is, to me, is kind of dumb on the smaller, the smaller engine. And to me, it's kind of dumb that you would do that. But praise God that I didn't call him names and you guys are stupid and you guys aren't doing your job and you better hurry up or I'm getting a lawyer. I could have done a lot of stupid things, which is not my nature. The closer I get to God, you can, if you start in an aggravated level already escalated, it's real hard to back down. And that's something John Riley and I have talked about a lot, is you can always start here and take it here if you have to. And that works if you're a police officer, that works if you're in church safety and security, that works if you're just a guy who got a part that you felt like a part was missing from the dealership. And he goes, right here, there is a clip that gets old and it will break. And he walks up, he goes clip, and he puts it back on there, and the engine looks right. And I'm looking at it, and he takes me down there. We go down to the back of everything where he's got their used vehicles, and sure enough, sure as shooting, there's not one there. And I'm like, man, I guess I'm just full of it. I really thought this was there. And he's like, no worries. This comes up from time to time. And I said, hey, thank you for your patience. And I'm walking away going, oh, thank you, Jesus, that I treated that man as a human being with respect, because I don't want to burn a bridge and I don't want to cause problems, because I've got other things I want to do with my car. And I need that relationship. Those things can definitely come to back to bite us. And I would have felt like a horse's patootie if I had done that. So one of the most powerful questions I've learned to ask is, to frame my questions is, when I'm convinced I'm right, is help me to understand this, because there's so much freedom there. I'm acknowledging their expertise, even though they may be wrong. I'm giving room for them to answer and teach me. And I'm giving room where, if I do so graciously, they might be willing to take a step back when they realize they're wrong and go, hey, brother, you're right. Glad you brought that to my attention. Help me understand. And I've done that in law enforcement. And sometimes, like, I've had people that are freaking out over something, and I'm like, okay, help me understand what's going on here, because to me, it looks like they're on drugs, or it looks like they're having a medical event. And they're like, I'm sorry, I've never been pulled over by a police officer before, and I don't really handle anxiety well. Okay, do me a favor, breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the mouth. Take a couple seconds to get that going, because the more oxygen to the brain, the better, right? And oh man, I really appreciate that you're being so understanding, officer. Yeah, not a problem. I'm here for you. I'm here to help. So what's going on? Well, I'm lost, and I'm a little nervous, and I don't know where I am, and I've had some bad experiences in life, and when I get in these moments like this, I just don't handle the anxiety well. Okay, well, let's take a couple moments and let's breathe. And here's the cool thing. I've been here for a lot of these stops. Would you like some thoughts on how to make a stop go easier? I would love that. So a gentle answer turneth away wrath. And I have had people at the end of a traffic stop. Usually I'm not primary on a traffic stop, but while maybe the officer's back there running them that I'm working with, I can answer questions. And I've had traffic stops go on 10 minutes longer where they're actually free to leave. It's the end of the investigation. Everything's fine. It came back that, there was a misunderstanding, or they were given a warning, or they didn't know that they had an equipment failure, and they're not the axe murderers that we're looking for. Whatever happens, I'm able to turn around at that point and answer questions. And I will have people ask me concealed carry questions. I'll take them right to the statute for the state of Missouri. I'll turn them on to resources like USCCA or US Law Shield, which is who I'm with. I will do things like that will help that person. And I've had them go, do you mind if I ask you a couple other questions? I usually don't find myself talking to a cop, and you're really personable. Score. That's a high score for me. So I apologize for the camera shake. My phone was warm, and I had to take the phone out of its case in order to record this as I sit in the parking lot of a big box store that might have pew-pews in it that I got to go get some stuff at. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you. Remember, semper disciplina, that lifestyle of discipline training. God bless. If you enjoyed this microsode, check out the video and audio versions of the Let's Talk Church Safety and Security podcast.